All right, can you hear me now? No. Oh, yeah. Now you can hear me. Yes, my dulcet tones are going out across the audience. It's fantastic. So who here has run Facebook ads? Who here felt like they did a really good job with their Facebook ads? Okay, good. This is the right audience. I'm going to go blind with that thing. I'm like this the whole time. You still see my eyes? No, that would be awful. So I got into Facebook ads back in, actually a lot with the help of my wife, Jill, and I'd also been doing a lot of advertising previously in my life. I've done a lot of Google ads and other ad platforms. I've even built ad platforms for at different times. I used to be a software developer before. I said, thank God I can just write books now. Because books are great. They work, put on a pile, you know, and work on Internet Explorer and shit like that. So anyway, I was doing really well with Facebook ads. We went from... I can talk more to the mic, I'm sorry. Yay, we're all so happy. That's what I want. All right. So I published my first book in 2011. I did everything wrong and continued to do everything wrong until, I can't keep track of years anymore. It was 2016. And it was in August of 2016 that shortly after I launched, we released my third book. So that was the first thing I did wrong, right? Releasing 3 books over the course of 5 years, give or take a bit. And we started running Facebook ads. And people started to actually, like, the ads were for my first book, and people seemed to actually like my first book. They told their friends, and they told Amazon, and Amazon told their friends, and I sold more and more books. And I went from making, at best, $300 in 1 month, which was June, to making $25,000 in November. So it was pretty awesome. And that was when I had 3 books out. Actually, I guess that was the launch of my 4th book, when I hit 25. And then actually I did something kind of interesting that was a fun test. People were like, well, you might have heard, I released a lot of books now. I'm releasing 7 books in April, for example. And people are like, well, you're doing really well, not because of your Facebook ads. You're doing really well because you're just releasing a ton of books. And what I did after releasing that book on November 1st of 2016 is I didn't release another book until April 1st of the next year. I went full-time in January and then proceeded to go 4 months without releasing a book, or 3 months without releasing a book, because I had no idea what I was doing still, you know, as far as like being a full-time author, having a schedule and really trying to produce books. So I actually managed to maintain my place as a 5-figure author until April when I released that book. I only dropped down to $15,000 in March, and that was 5 months after release. So it's not that you have to be releasing all of the time and running ads all the time and doing all these things all the time. There are strategies out there that can help you maintain momentum in a variety of situations that hopefully can work for everybody. And you may not, I sort of had a cool advantage that I'd actually written a book that had a good audience and resonated really well, just no one knew about it. And so that when people did know about it, I had 3 books. And then you get the people that love series, and they all jumped into it and they started reading it like crazy people. So it doesn't always work perfectly for everybody else. It's even I have trouble replicating that exact thing that happened, but I do have a lot of series now that I can run ads for them and sell 30 or 40 copies a day, where before they were selling no copies a day. And even if you can do that for a little while, it can work. So the big thing about ads, and actually I want to remember that too, it's going to be okay. This part, of course, is like the part that Craig talked about, where you got to put, this is your product, and now you're a marketer, you have to market your product. And this is one of the worst parts of marketing your product. You're going to spend a bunch of money, and you're not going to know if you're going to make it back. So it can be terrifying. And judging by the hands that went up, and then I think 4 that stayed up, most of you feel like you did not actually succeed in your Facebook advertising and didn't actually end up making your money back. But there are ways to stop to not have that happen. The other thing that it's important to think about is you don't need that many readers to do really well. Like Michelangelo said, he had 29,000 that have read your first book, and you probably have something like somewhere between 20 and 25 that have read book 2 and 3 and so on, because there's always a drop off. Yeah. So Michelangelo's probably looking at like 20,000 hardcore readers. I only have about 10,000 hardcore readers, and I did $300,000 last year. Not last month. But that's a decent income. And so I thought about it a bunch. I thought, you know what, 10,000 people is small. There are 10,000 science fiction readers on Kobo in Canada. I don't actually have to reach everybody in the world. I just have to find this group of people. And 10,000 is actually a pretty good number. If you kind of listen to some folks who are doing well, they sort of say, you can find 10,000 people, you're going to do well. Because 10,000 people, if you can do 4 books a month and they all buy it, you're talking 120K, give or take a little bit, depending what your pricing points are and stuff like that. So that's not that hard to do. I know of through the grapevine, I know of an author who writes romance, and she does $70,000 a month on Nook in Australia.
Whoa.
You know, I know an author who did $86,000 one month in Canada on Kobo. So there are markets out there, and I was speaking with someone who now I don't remember. Also, if I talk too fast, just start going by this. Wait, you know, don't. You already told me to speak up, so you're not ashamed. So there is a group of readers out there who want to read your books, and luckily, if you do the thing where you write what you like to read, chances are you'll be able to find them too. Or sort of they exist, and so you might actually know where they are, because maybe where you go, or it might be the other authors that you read. For example, we're going to do this crazy thing that I shouldn't even talk about because it's super secret and really cool. We're going to start writing cozy mysteries in space. They're actually going to be set inside my existing universe. I have a big space opera universe that has 17 series in it, and a bunch of the characters are reading these cozy mysteries because we think it's hilarious. The cat has a jetpack, you know, everything like that. Why not, right? And so the characters are reading these cozy mysteries, and we're actually going to start writing the cozy mysteries. And I was like, this might be a really stupid thing to do. I don't know if like my military space opera sci-fi readers are going to be interested in cozy mysteries. So what I did is I went and looked at the reviews for one of my like hardcore military science fiction books, and the first two reviews, the recent reviews, were reviewed by women. And actually this held true when I looked at the ones from men as well. But the second book that was in the reviewer's profile was a cozy mystery with like the clip art type of cover and stuff like that. And I actually found some of the male readers that also had that type of book in their reading history. So you can find people that you can market to that you would not think that you could market to. You know, there might be people that have these crazy shared interests, and you can broaden your audience that you're reaching out to in ways you might not have thought you can do that. And actually looking at the profiles of your reviewers might be an interesting clue as to the other things that your actual reviewers read. I need a glass of water, you're gonna die. So yeah, a lot of it, like I said, is finding those 10,000 people. And then of course, you're gonna feel like this sometimes about your ads. And that might be the right feeling about certain ads, but you can just go back to that, you know, nice, serene, so let's get a little bit more into Facebook specifically. Facebook is a place where you are the product. I don't know if you guys ever thought of it that way, but if you ever use a service and you don't pay for it, you are the product. And that is Facebook. Everybody that uses Facebook is the product. Facebook makes money off of folks like us running ads on Facebook. But Facebook's people, this product, people using it, they don't want ads. I mean, who wants to have their timeline just be 100% ads? That would be awful. Facebook wants things that don't look like ads, which is why successful Facebook ads do not look like ads in other media, because Facebook punishes people who make ads that look like ads. What Facebook wants is they want your ads to look as much like that as possible. Because that's what Facebook has on it, right? Facebook is memes. Facebook is, wow, that's even brighter. Wow, I got to find somewhere to stand. Let me move over here. Maybe I can like not be blinded over here. All right, it's a little bit better. Like, wow, the cat is bright. I got this little white around the cat. This is halo. Because Facebook, what Facebook really wants is they want stuff that looks like, the lunch that you ate yesterday and your funny cat video that you saw. That's the content that Facebook wants its people's feed to look like, because that's what brings the people back. Mark Zuckerberg announced in January that people are less engaged with Facebook because of the number of ads on Facebook. I mean, he couched it in a whole bunch of different ways, but that's basically what he said. And about a year and a half ago, Facebook hit ad saturation. They hit a point where they realized if they put more ads in people's timelines, they will stop coming to Facebook. They measured it and saw where it tailed off, and they found the sweet spot where they can make the most money and lose the least amount of people. Now, everybody talks like, oh, Facebook changed their algorithm. I hate the word algorithm. I was a software developer for 20 years. The word algorithm is very synonymous with the word bullshit. Algorithms are real things, but they're very complicated, and they're not like the algorithm. Like Facebook, Amazon probably has about 100 algorithms for how they do things, and they're tuned differently by different software development teams with different management teams, report to different directors. Like it's not like there's like this, Jeff Bezos is like the puppet master. He's got one algorithm. So actually, the interesting thing is you can't really assign agency to what the algorithm does either, because it's so nebulous. But Facebook didn't change their advertising algorithm anyway when they did this. What they did is they just stopped showing posts from pages on people's timelines to make more room for ads. that people pay for. That's actually all that happened. And what I saw as a result of that is my cost per click went down, was really the only thing I saw, because I had less competition to be showing up on people's timelines. They haven't fully rolled it out yet, though, because I run posts on my page and I see that they actually still get impressions even if I don't boost them. But the long and short of it is that if you have an author page, eventually your visibility for that author page will be zero unless you boost posts. And boosting posts is the worst way ever to run ads. Just going to put that out there for you guys, just so you know. Don't boost posts. Don't boost posts ever. Well, except for like an exception, I'll tell you about later. The reason why is that when you, on an ad, if someone clicks the picture, they go to your page. On a boosted post, if they click the picture, it makes the picture bigger, and you pay for that. That's considered an interaction that you pay for. So it's not really a great thing when it comes to making money, because that's what ads are all about. Ads are the way that you're gonna make money, and that each ad needs to work for you. The other thing you have to keep in mind is, aside from our friend Mr. the Cat here, you're also you're competing on Facebook against people that are selling cars and laptops and washing machines, and they can afford to pay $1, $2, sometimes even $5 per click, because that's how much their product sells for. A lot of us are advertising the first book in our series, which we're sort of running as a loss leader for 99 cents. Please don't advertise free books. You'll just be sad. The conversion on free books is so bad these days that it's something to the tune right now for most people, on average, like 5% of the people that get your free book will show up on book 2. And if you do the ROI on it, you'll find out that you're just basically you might as well just burn money in your fireplace, and you'll be better off. You'll get some heat out of it at least when you do that. So you got to think about that. You have to remember that it's very hard for us, if you're selling a 99-cent book, to have a positive ROI on that first book, because a decent Facebook cost per click, it's not good, but a decent one is 30 cents per click. Nobody in advertising sells one-to-one clicks, to sales. The average is actually around 30 to 1. So 30 people click, 1 person buys. You can do better, obviously. I've seen people that consistently can get as good as 10 to 1, but even at 10 to 1, at 30 cents a click, you're spending $3 to sell that 99-cent book. It's pretty hard to do. Now, some people, thriller people, who's a thriller writer in here? You guys are living the dream. I tell you, thriller authors, $5.99 is their lowest price. Like, I priced this one low. I put it at $5.99 on launch. I'm gonna jack it up to $7.99 pretty soon. And so thriller authors. And thriller readers, or whatever, thriller readers are like, yeah, sure, it's about $10 for the lead child, I'll take it. Maybe you guys don't all experience this, but a lot of the thriller authors I know do experience this. They'll run books for $6.99, they'll run Facebook ads on them, and one book will be profitable. Whereas I'm writing science fiction, and in science fiction, like, your max price is $3.99 for most books. I actually price a lot of mine at $4.99. I'm in the higher end, but your first book is almost always going to be 99 cents unless you're annually $3.99. It bugs me. Goddamn first book of yours.
I can't make money on it whenever I sell it at 99 cents.
You don't want to make money. You want to open the funnel wider.
They give me worse reviews.
They do, yeah. That's actually a good point too. Free is actually the best way to get worse reviews, because the cheaper the book is, the more likely people are to buy it on a lark. And if they buy it on a lark, it might not be their fit, and they might give you a bad review. So yeah, that totally can happen. So the thing is that what I'm getting down is a series. The plural for series is series. It frustrates me. Series is, I learned this in a previous presentation. I asked, and someone looked it up while I was presenting. Jen clarified it for me. Series make the most money when you're running ads, obviously, because you can run that loss leader. You can, like one of my books that I run ads for, it typically only sells 1 in 20 clicks, and it's an average of about 30 CPC when I advertise it in the UK. So I'm spending like $6 for a 99-cent sale, but the series is long enough that I actually make. In that particular series, I make $15 on average from every first sale. So in that sort of scenario, I'm spending $6 and I get 15. And if you think about it, you're like, wow, on the surface of it, if you're looking at an ad that it's costing you $6 to make a 99-cent sale, you say, this is the worst thing ever. I need to kill this thing as quickly as possible. But if I said to you that I got a machine, and you put $6 into it, and 90 days later it's going to give you $15, and you can put $6 into it every day. All right, you actually put $6 into it as often as you have $6. You can put $6 into it every hour, and 90 days later it's going to give you $15 every single time you do it. You would do it. Like, that's better. Napkin math is always. I always say something stupid when I just do math in my head, but you're probably talking something that's like 4 or 5 times better than the stock market. that seems like a horrible thing right at the beginning. So that's something to think about. So the thing that, what's my next slide? I changed this around a little bit last night. Yeah, all right. Well, we won't get fully into this quite yet, but the thing that what Facebook calls the people you're advertising to, they call it your audience. And your audience can be built out of, I think I've got most of these things I've actually said too. Your audience is built of a number of different things. The easiest one is interests. You go into Facebook and after you create your campaign, and I have a book, I also have all of this written out in a file in the file section of the 20Books group called Facebook Ads for Fun and Profit. It's what I built later on wrote a book off of, but the base information is still in there. It's unedited, so forgive me for, I read through it one time, I'm like, oh, this is so full of bad typos. Because it was originally just a Facebook post, so it was disastrous. But anyway, so some of the steps that you have to go through are all in there in more detail. But after creating the campaign, you then go to the ad set tab and you start creating your audience. And the audience, of course, is the people that Facebook is going to show this ad to. The thing you have to pick at a certain point, you have to pick your interests. And interests are things like, romance, science fiction. You can get down to all the way down to things like particular authors and whatnot. You can also do things where you can build lookalike audiences, and a lot of people will talk about building lookalike audiences for your ads. And that's things like people that look like people who've liked your page. Or you can actually load email addresses into Facebook, because Facebook knows everybody's email address on the planet practically. You can load email addresses into Facebook, and then they can actually build a lookalike audience off of these email addresses. Some people have these work really well for them, and some people don't. The reason why I don't find them to work well for me, and why I suspect that they don't work for a lot of other people, is because Facebook is things like income bracket. Can they afford to buy cars? Are they in the market for a Mac, or are they in the market for a PC? Like, that's part of like a lookalike audience. So for example, if you have a lot of people in your lookalike audience that all happen to, I don't know, like maybe they're all, I have to give a good example that works well for everybody. Say for example, your lookalike audience, for whatever reason, is all college educated. And you say, build me a lookalike audience. And Facebook builds a lookalike audience, and everybody in your lookalike audience is college educated. And you didn't realize, and maybe that might happen, especially if your source sample is small. And then you can actually get this lookalike audience that's costing you a ton of money to run ads for, because it's just this special segment of the market, and it's actually a very small group of people. Hopefully that makes sense as to why I don't think they always work well for authors, because we write books that appeal to people that have a very broad spectrum of experience of life, male, female, political spectrum. I sell as many books to people on the left as I do to people on the right. They both think I'm like playing the other side's agenda sometimes, that you get stuff like that. So it's very hard to hope to use those types of things to do it. So what I typically focus on is interests and other authors. And these vary from genre to genre. What I found, for example, is romance is, the top authors in romance are so advertised against that they cost a fortune to run ads for. So in romance, you actually do better if you just pick the general interests. You'll actually get a lower cost per clicks. This sort of thing changes too. This advice might not be good in 3 days. It might get everybody here listen to me, and everybody starts running all the romance ads focused on interest, and then suddenly some of the authors become cheaper to advertise against. So you have to play around with it sometimes and change up your audiences and see what works better. In science fiction, for whatever reason, like the vast majority of science fiction authors simply don't exist. Like, you can't actually select Michelangelo as a person to write to it, and even or Daniel Aronson, who sold something like 2 million books. He's not an option at Facebook. You can only really pick some of the really big ones, and of course everybody advertises to them, and they're really expensive. So in science fiction, this is less so because I can keep telling everybody this. But in science fiction, what I did is I advertised to all of the people who liked all of the old-timey science fiction authors. So Arthur C. Clarke and Robert Heinlein, guys who are big in the 50s and 60s. And I could get really low cost per clicks on those. I actually had this other really cool advantage, is I just hit all of these guys who were retiring and had lots of time on their hands to dump it into KU reading, which was fantastic. So there's actually some advantages to that. And I've been sort of studying this. I think that a lot of us do have older readers, and it's just mainly because they have more time. Younger readers, they're busy partying, and then they've got kids, and they have zero time. And then eventually, you get a little bit older, your kids leave the house, you retire, you've got a lot more time to read. So even though everyone's like, oh crap, my audience is old, they're like, I know I feel like such a jerk saying this because there are people here that are definitely older than me. Dude, you're not old. So anyway, but I got a lot of guys who are like 65 to 70. I've got these guys that, like, my series is very long running, and some of them kind of realize now that my series is going to be about 120 books by the time it's all done. It's spread wide, so it's multiple simultaneous series is running, but they're like, can you finish this before I die? That's when you've got a bit of an aging audience. But at first I worried about it, because I'm like, am I going to have a career for 10 years, when all these guys die? It sounds like such a horrible thing to say, but it's, trying to plan for my life here. But what I realized is that no, I seem to be getting guys that are younger, and I have women readers too, but mostly I have male readers. That it's changing. It's hard to advertise to women. You guys are expensive to advertise. The reason why is because everybody advertises to women. That's an important thing to think about too when it comes to your audience. Because women do most of, I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but in the US, women do most of the purchasing in the house. They buy the food, they buy the cosmetics. Men do not have nearly as many cosmetics they buy. They oftentimes buy a lot of the decorating, stuff that's done in the house. Men buy like cars, and lawn tractors and rakes and stuff like that. And they just don't buy that much. Women buy a lot more. So everybody is targeting women to advertise them. And of course, the romance authors are all targeting women too. So I'm just like, I can't afford to target women at all. So I almost never run ads focused on women. So the fact that I have any female readers is sort of a miracle. So what that gets into is when you're building an audience on Facebook, you're going to pick these interests. You're going to pick things like some authors. You're going to blend in some interests. And then the next thing you want to do, and this depends greatly on how you advertise, if you're wide or not, but I pick Amazon Kindle as another interest. And once you first start filling in interest, this new little link appears, and it's just a little blue link, and it says narrow audience. And when you click that, you get a second box. Because the first box, you're putting in all these different authors and some interests. Those are all ors. It's this, or this, or this, or this, or this. They'll see the ad. But when you click that narrow interest, you get the second box. Those things are not anded together. So this, or this, or this, or this, or this, and this. So what I pick is Amazon Kindle. So people who like Kindle and like all these other things. And when you do that, you can actually start playing around with a lot more options. Like I have some ads that run only for people who watch certain science fiction TV shows. And normally, advertising to movies and TV shows is a horrible idea. But I say, and have people who have actually liked Amazon Kindle on Facebook, which now narrows me down to people that I'm pretty sure are readers, at least. And if you go broad, there's another one called ebooks. Ebooks has a lot more people that are interested in it, but you'll sometimes see more sales because sort of an interest with ebooks is not as specific as I like my Kindle type of interest. But there's ways you can do that to help narrow it down. And that lets you play around with TV shows and a lot more options as far as widening out your audience. The other thing that's really important to do is not run the same ad for men and women. Because at some point, what you're going to do on Facebook when you actually, I want to be one slide further over in this one. There we go. So on Facebook, when you run ads, you get this little link underneath the ad that says View Graphs. You can look at your graphs. And I can't obviously highlight over this stuff in real time, but for example, men 35 to 44, I'm looking at 22 cents per click. Women 65 and up, I'm looking at $1.26 a click. I probably don't want to advertise to that particular female age group. They might love my group. I might have a lot of great readers there. My books have a lot of great readers there, but I'm not really going to make a lot of money if I dollars to donuts. I'm going to get like maybe 5 or 6 clicks from the men every time I get 1 click over here. So whenever I make my ads, I actually make one for women, and then I make one for men. And then I'll find things like, for example, with men, I do well all the way down to 34 years old. And with women, I typically only get good cost per clicks down to about 44 years old. So I can actually, because you can't change your age per gender. You have to change your age and you change your gender. So I can't like reach deeper into men than I can to women when I build my ads. So it's easier if you make them separately, and you can tune each ad separately as well. Another very important thing is, and I've got this one straight from the horse's mouth by talking to folks at Facebook. Don't run ads for multiple countries. Don't run ads. Write this one down. Don't run ads for multiple countries. I think this is on my sheet too at some point. Say don't mix major segments is what it says, and then make separate ads for different genders and countries is what it should say.
So can I just very quickly, would you separate Canada and the United States?
Yeah.
You would? Okay.
Yeah, because it actually has to, I'm going to use the bad word, use the algorithm word, but that's sort of the easy way to think about it. The way that they try and focus interests and organize people doesn't work as well across borders. And you actually end up narrowing your audience a bunch because they categorize people in different ways in different countries. A great thing to do with your ads too is run them to, there's actually a way to take one ad and then use that ad on multiple audiences. I have a post on how to do that. It's also in the file section of 20Books. So you can actually make the exact same ad, and then you can reuse that ad on different audiences. If you follow their standard process, it makes a different ad every single time you make a different ad set, and you end up with like 47 ads all bucketed in these different ad sets. But there's a way to make a new ad set, which is a new audience, a group of people, a gender, a country, and have it serve the same other ad you've been serving to other people. And what I found, which is great, British people are really nice. You guys are great. I'll look for a controversial ad that says, is Michael Cooper the next Larry Niven, or something like that. And if I throw that in the States, like no. Dude sucks balls. I'll get a compliment. The Brits are like, I don't know, maybe I'll check them out. It's very nice. So I'll take an ad like that, a controversial ad. I'll run it in the UK first and get some nice comments in there that make me look a little bit less like a douchebag. And then I'll take that ad, and I said that word, I guess. It's forever immortalized. Then I'll take that same ad and I'll run in the US, and then the Americans are a little bit nicer when they come along. Oh, look, I guess the Brits are showing us up again, so yeah, we'll pass this guy well. I taught people about the War of 1812 yesterday, by the way, which apparently they don't teach you British folks about. That's the one where you spanked America after the Revolutionary War, but they don't teach you guys about that one. The Brits actually came and burned down the White House. Actually, the Brits didn't burn down the White House specifically. It was a brigade that was out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, that was drunk and then burned down the White House. But if you know anything about Nova Scotia, it makes perfect sense. All right, so I talked about, let's see, people don't want to look like ads. Am I on the right page? I don't know where I am anymore. Yes, all right, so I did talk about the anatomy of a good ad. I did talk at the beginning about how Facebook doesn't want people's feeds to look like ads. They want to look like cat videos, food. And what that gets into is, this is actually really good for us. Because typical advertising copy, buy now, really cheap, great, just released, blah, 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 looks like an ad. Facebook doesn't want that. Facebook likes something that looks like a post, which lends itself to long copy. Long copy is what us authors do every single day. We write every day, even just a little bit. That's like my one thing, my one piece of advice. But we're good at that. We write long copy. It's our jam. And Facebook actually rewards us for that because it wants things that look like conversational posts with more copy. And actually you get more words in there as well, which can help. Another interesting little side note is that if people have to click that read more link on an ad to read more, Facebook counts that as engagement. And Facebook likes engagement. And Facebook will then charge you less money and show your ad more if you get engagement. So it can actually work out really well. I had one ad for a box set that sold several hundred $9.99 box sets before the ad started to peter out. And I put all of my reviews, not all my reviews, I think I put like 40 reviews in the ad body. It was this monster ad. You actually had to scroll for 7 pages on your phone to see the whole thing. I put the link before all of that, by the way. So people didn't have to, if someone got excited, they didn't have to scroll down their phone for 9 years to put that in. But it's really, long copy can work really well. And what I find works best when it comes to writing the copy on an ad, you guys are going to hate this. You write a blurb. You got to write a blurb. And it can't be the same blurb that's on your book, on your product page, because what you want to do is you want people to see your ad, get interested, and then land on your product page and have the story continue, learn more details, dive deeper. So you actually have to write another blurb, and you have to write a blurb for each ad, and you probably should be running doing 3 or 4 of those a month, which sounds horrible. But,
tailored to your different audiences.
Sorry, what?
Tailored blurb.
Tailored to your audiences, yep. And what you might even find yourself doing, and I've done this, is I actually alter my blurb on my Amazon product page to be a better tie-in to my best running ads. So I've got this one ad that talks about my character's journey that she's going through, and then I actually altered the tagline on my product page to then be almost like a line that would be the thing you would read after you had read the copy in the ad. I mean, I still made it good so people came to it, but I played around with it for a while, trying to find something that lended really well. Because you want to keep engaging them and keep leading them on. It's the same thing. They'd be like, well, I already know this, and it didn't quite get me far enough to buy, so I guess that's it. But actually, I think, it's on here somewhere, there we are. I think that writing blurbs is ridiculously easy. Writing blurbs is the who, what, where, when, why that the newspaper journalists always had to do. And there are, and like Kevin said, there are people that are breaking all these rules. Well, they're not rules, guidelines. People that don't follow any of these guidelines, in some cases me, and have books that sell really, really well. But it's always a good place to start. And then you can tweak and play around and get more creative after that. But the one thing that people do a lot in their blurbs and on Facebook ads is they mention a lot of names. And I can't remember names. I've met a lot of you, and I don't remember anybody's name. Just like A, B, C, D, E, F, so I'm not that bad. Very close, though. And I'm sure you guys have read books where you're like, okay, there's 3 paragraphs and there's 7 names in here. Which one of these was the main character? Which one do I care about? What's the conflict? What's the struggle? And if you're writing people that write fantasy, you gotta make up weird names. I can't even read half these names. And I used to like be the person to always talk about this, but now that I'm old, yeah, I'm not that old, but I'm old enough that weird names just sort of like don't even settle into my brain properly anymore. So it's keep it down to one name. Romance authors, you got to put in 2 names. Although I have seen some I did a little bit of research on this after a conversation with 20 Covers group, and I found actually a lot of really well written and well performing romance books that actually did not mention 2 names. They only mentioned just one person's name. I actually even watched like a whole bunch of trailers. Like I watched like 17 Katherine Hagel trailers, looking at when they drop the different names of the trailers and stuff like that, because the same sort of thing applies. But really what you want to do is try and keep it down to as many names as humanly possible. So you want to, the first thing you got to do, and we saw this when we were talking about blurbs, is you want to introduce your character's name. People relate to people the best. It's a little bit less true for men. Men can get sucked into, and this is a generalistic statement, it's not true about everybody, but just sort of like when you're thinking about advertising to the population of the entire planet, this is generally true, that men are more likely to be sucked into a plot-based ad than a character-based ad. But I found that even with men, character-based ads still work better. I'll get lower clicks and I'll get more conversions if it's a character-based ad. It's this person, and here's their struggle, because people can relate to people better than they can relate to starships or plot elements or like grandiose ideas. If it's a person struggling with the results of these things, then they can relate to that and they can make a personal connection. The next thing you basically have to say, you have to tell a bit about the characters. Like, my main character, Tanis Richards, is a major in the Terran Space Force. That's not exactly how it starts, but it tells you a lot about her right there. Okay, her name's Tanis Richards. She's in the Space Force. You will assign all these attributes to her at this point in your mind, and she has to protect this starship as they're trying to get out of the Sol system. Okay, well now you know what the problem is. She's got to protect this starship as it's trying to get out of the Sol system. If she doesn't, everybody dies. Sad Canada. That's really what it comes down to. Oh, sorry, actually I missed one step. Here she is. She's got to protect the starship. If she does, what she's going to do is she's going to do all of these different things, or she has to do this one thing. King Arthur has to pull the sword out of the stone, or the Saxons win and we all speak German, which we kind of do. So I don't know how that worked out now that I think about it. But that's what it is. So it's your main character. It's what they do. It's what's the big bad thing. What are they going to do to stop it? And then what happens if they don't? And that's blurbs, and that's a Facebook ad. That's what it's going to have in it. It's going to have those things because that makes a connection to the person. It then it tells them what the struggle is, and it should hint at what they're going to try and do to stop that struggle. Otherwise, it sounds like, okay, so you got a guy, he's going to watch Netflix. Is that what he's going to do to deal with this big problem that's going on? So you got to think about what they're going to do, and then you have the end result, the bad thing that doesn't happen. And in romance. Kevin had a good example this morning, but what I was going to do is she's going to be a spinster for the rest of her life. Sad panda, that would be me if I was in a romance. I would not make it. So, and then the last thing, and this is the reason why I think that authors all need to learn how to write their own blurbs, and that's no disrespect to people who run blurb writing services, because I've seen them produce amazing blurbs that have almost saved some books, but only you have the passion for your book. No one else can have that same passion that you have. And only you can get it across. So that's a really important thing to remember, that no one else is going to love your baby like you do. And you have to make other people love your baby. And no one else will do that as well as you. The other thing is never put subplots. No subplots. That was actually something that we saw in a lot of the covers, that they were filled with subplots. And they're filled with backstory. People always put backstory in. And we saw that in some of the stuff we talked about with the covers as well. They were really just all backstory. They were setting. You don't need that stuff in the ad. That's what your book is for. You want to just say conflict resolution is what you want to talk about for that. Now another thing that I personally hate, and I have yet to ever buy a book that does this, is if you end your ad or your blurb in a question, I will never click. I can't stand it. Because the only thing that goes in my head is, you're the freaking author. Shouldn't you know? I'm a very literal person. So obviously, I know that I don't reflect the large of the odds, but it always bugs me. I'm like, it's like, will John be able to save the day and do this thing? And I'm like, wow, if you don't know, that I'm certainly not reading this book. But what you could say is like, John has to do this thing to save the day. You could take that. This is like the passive, active version of ad copywriting. You could make that an active statement about a thing that has to be done, and that's far more like gripping. May not work well in all genres. I actually have a blurb that starts with a question and ends with a question. So I actually break this rule as well. And somehow people still buy that book, so it's not the end of the world. But it was all tongue in cheek. I think it was like, doesn't everybody deserve a day off? Is how how it started. I have another blurb that's quite literally a checklist. It's like the main character's name is Rika, and it's like Rika's bucket list. And it's like all these things like survive the war with Nietzsche, stop an assassination, and a couple of things. And it's like it has like a short little bit about something that happened to her, and then it says commence unprecedented ass kicking of the Nietzschean empire commencing, and that's the blurb. That's the whole thing. So you can play around with things and have fun. That's also book 3 in the series too. So I mean, people are if they're into the series, they're into the series at that point. I don't know if I've done something like that on a book 1. How am I doing with time?
You have about 15 maybe.
Oh crap! All right, so we're going to talk about very more quickly than I hope to about finding your Starship ass. This is a little bit further down. This is like the last thing in that section. But because Amazon doesn't want ads that look like ads, you got to find your genre's cool thing, or the thing like that gets people's blood pumped up. And this started when I was looking at the romance office. Like, these guys got it made. They show some man chest. I got it after a while. Like, those guys got pretty nice chests. It's not bad. You got like a guy leaning up against a girl. It's even better. Like, I can't do that. Although I did start making those shiny Heidi covers, the purple ones, because I'm like, you know what? I'm going for it. All the romance office put stuff like that. I put the sci-fi version of that on my covers. But what I found is like, okay, but there are evocative images in every genre that have that same sort of thing. And in science fiction, one of the big iconic images is when we all like had our minds blown, at least guys like me, and we saw the Imperial Star Destroyer come across the screen of Star Wars. Like, that is like one of the most iconic scenes in cinematography. Only done better, by Spaceballs. Spaceballs 1 just kept going. And so what I decided is I want to find an image that evokes that feeling. That has nostalgia attached to it, that communicates the genre really well. And so this got coined at 20Books Vegas. This is your Starship ass. You got to find your Starship ass. I first put this ad up on November 14th of 2016. It is still running. I have spent about $5,000, $6,000 on this ad. It's maybe close to $30,000 now. No one can ever use this image for anything ever again. If you look at this point, I took the screenshot in November. That's 436,000 people reached have seen this ad. So like, I basically own this image as far as the internet's concerned now. If anybody else tries to use it, they're like, isn't that M.D. Cooper's image? It's got like right now it has like 3.5 thousand likes, 3.5K likes, hundreds of shares. It's got of the comments that are still on it, because I keep a pretty close eye on it. I think right now it's 250 comments, and some of those comments, like there's some of them like 15, 20 comment threads. Because one of the things in my blurb I have up here, this actually is interesting. This breaks one of my other rules. This is like all plot. There's like no character in this one at all. And people say that sounds like V'ger from Star Trek. And so then we all get in arguments in the thread, in the ad about whether or not it's V'ger. And like some people come and defend it and say, yes, there's nothing like V'ger. If you're like, no, it's totally like V'ger. And you're like, no, it's more like Battlestar Galactica. This thing's totally ripping off Battlestar Galactica. And actually, people look at like, you guys really need to calm down. Then there's discussions about how many plots there are. There's only 4 plots. There's 7 plots. Stuff like that. And Facebook doesn't care. Facebook's like, people like this. I'm going to show it more because it's the good news. The bad news is good news thing. And every now and then, I'm like, this ad is kind of controversial. Maybe someday I'll take it down. But it's still working. And it's had points where sometimes it's been as low as 9 cents. For a while, it went all the way to 50 cents per click. So I just decreased my spend on it. And I just kept it going, and now it's actually, on average, it's back down to about 14 cents per click, and it's converting. And what I do too is I cycle it into the UK every now and then. If everything's getting a little bit too toxic on the ad, I stop showing it in the US, and I only show it in the UK, and it's more friendly content show. But it's good for it. So what I try to do when I'm doing an ad is like, this is the part where you're basically writing a blurb of some sort. You've got your tagline is going to be here. I experiment sometimes making more of a tagline-y thing be at the top versus down here. You want to kind of play around with it. If you're running sales, this is a great place to put the price. This section down here is called the newsfeed description. It doesn't show up on mobile. Well, Facebook says it doesn't show up on mobile, but I checked my phone before this thing, and you actually see the first couple lines of it. So you don't want to put a lot of really important information in there because it may or may not show on mobile that much. So that's some stuff to think about too. The thing about the pictures is that they need to be just pictures. You don't want to have text on those because to Facebook that looks like an ad. Facebook wants it to look as little like an ad as possible. You can get away with some text, but what I really advise people to do is to just use pictures. I get my pictures from Deposit Photos. They have a deal right now, and they do it quite a bit where you can get 100 pictures for $100. So whenever I run a new ad, I'll go through Deposit Photos, and I'll find like 15, 20 pictures I like, and I'll make copies of it with all the different pictures. And then the one that works the best, I keep it and I kill the rest. And this one was up against like 5 or 6 other pictures. So some people ask me, they're like, they want to know more detail, like what I mean. And I really just mean something that like tugs your heartstrings. Like this picture is like a sci-fi nerd's like favorite thing ever. It's like a star with a Dyson sphere around. You got a relativistic jet coming off the star. It's propelling the star in some fashion. It's like, yeah, I want to read about that. Other people are like, that is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever saw. Dune? Like, what is that? I have no idea. But it's evocative to the right people. Other images like this they're evocative images. This one typically wouldn't be that good, but I think this one actually has the silhouette shows up really well down there. They don't represent directly anything in the books, but they represent the ideas in the books. And some people get really hung up, like, I need to find a picture that looks exactly like the main character in my book. And it's like, you can do that, but one of these other pictures might work better. And you're gonna get your cover artist to like modify your cover for like $200, and you're gonna find out that a $1 image off of deposit photos is gonna sell more of your books than that. So and eventually, if you get really good at it, you might want to go that route. But when you're learning, you're trying things out, you want to just throw a lot of stuff out there and see what works, I really recommend just getting stock photos and sticking them up there. Like I have Kristen Harbor, I talked with her, she does the exact same thing. She just grabs dollar photos off deposit photos, throws them up there. She does amazing with them. That's actually where I first realized, like, God damn it, Kristen, you just grab man chest and stick it up there and it works for you. I can't do that. But I mean, you can get slightly provocative and evocative images other ways. The other thing to keep in mind is contrast. Facebook is white and blue. You want colors that are going to stand out. If people are scrolling through their feed, you want something that's going to jump out at them. So images like this can be do really well for stuff like that. People are going to see like this picture. Is that New York? What just happened? You know, and they might pause and read that. Or even images like this. This actually is one I threw together in case I ran out of time, which I'm probably not going to do, but just an idea of the sort of ad copy that you can combine with an image to put together a little bit of a story to tell people. I actually saw someone who actually just took the first 4 paragraphs of their novel and made that their ad. And then she had like a 7-cent cost per click. She was just selling ads selling ads and books like mad. It was amazing. So some really great stuff you can do that with. So what I would probably want to do, I've only like 10 minutes now, right? Oh, there's a clock on the wall up there. Holy crap, that's super handy. I have 5 minutes.
He did it twice.
Well, you got into me at the beginning here too, so I think I get 10. Question, there's a bunch of stuff about ROI. If you want to talk to me about that, you can do it. If you find that post I have in the 20Books group section, I talk a lot about how you can calculate your ROI on an ad and know if an ad's making you money with read-through and stuff like that, because it's really important to know when they're working. Questions? Okay, wow. You're there first.
You talked about, duplicating ads and sending them to different countries. How do you get over the URL issues of outlook.co.uk.com?
Oh, so the question was the destination of the ad?
Yeah.
You know, when someone clicks the link, where does it go? So if I'm cycling an ad and not showing it in both countries, I can change it, because that's the one thing you can change on an ad without nuking the social proof. The social proof is all the comments and everything on an ad. If you change anything on an ad, Facebook removes all likes, all comments, everything, because like, well, you changed it. They're not liking, commenting this thing. But you can change the link. That's the one thing you can change. So if you're cycling it from country to country, you can do that. If not, I recommend using something like smarturl.it. They do automatic country detection. No, you can use SmartURL. I use it. Books to Read, which is the service that Drafted Digital runs, also works, because they will land people on a page that lets them select they're better for wide, obviously, because you can pick all the different retailers. But they also do country selection as well. So that might be a way to go with that. In the red shirt right here.
Okay, so if you're releasing book 5, what are you advertising?
So I'm always running ads on book 1 all the time for all of my series. If I release book 5, usually what I'll do, and that's where I write more of an ad copy, more of a traditionally ad copy type of ad. I'll oftentimes maybe have book 1, 2, and 5 on sale, or like Kristen's sort of special deal, and then I'll run an ad just about that. Usually what I'll try and do is I'll try and run the ad to sale for about a week so I can actually get some traction on the ad, because Facebook takes a couple of days to get traction on their ads. There's a thing where they have called the relevancy score. You don't get a relevancy score until your ad has been served 485 times. Sometimes I've seen a 10 or so off of that, but that's what you get. And that's when you know how well the ad's working, and you want a relevancy score of 8 or better. 7 is iffy. And what was I going to go with that? Right, and that can actually take a couple of days. If you're only running the ad at $5 a day, you can actually take 2 or 3 days to get that relevancy score. And depending on your budget, you have something to think about too. If you're running an ad at $5 a day, if it's January 1st and you sell books on January 1st, you don't get paid for those books until the 29th of March. So you have to basically budget $450 before you're going to see a cent from these ads you're running. So that's something you got to keep in mind. You do actually have to have the money to pull that off. And that's all part of like how you would, whether or not it's worth it to run Facebook ads for a very short sale that you might be running. In the back. John.
Is there any way of targeting people who specifically like a long series?
So you're asking if there's a way to target people that like long series. The best way probably is to find authors that wrote really long series and target them specifically. I think it's probably the best thing you've got. And you can play around too. Like in the States, I did an experiment with an author where it was a political thriller, and we actually did red state versus blue state splits, and we actually looked at people with party affiliations, and we actually advertised her book more specifically to people in red states because it was like sort of like a vigilante justice type of thriller, and what she was looking for was more positive reviews actually, because people, what she found is that people in blue states, which is liberals in the United States, were less likely to give vigilante killer books than positive reviews. It's based on a very popular series that does well everywhere, but it was an interesting way to break it out, and she actually got some better sales and better reviews from doing that sort of split. So you can find interesting ways to slice and dice too. Yes.
I've got a question about the images. Do you want the images to reflect your cover? Because I've been running Facebook ads with the 3D image of my book.
Right.
You know, the image and then that overlay.
That is something that looks a lot like an ad, and you actually don't want to do that. And what I do recommend is try it. You know, you can make in Facebook, you make a campaign, an ad set, and you make ads. Make your campaign as where you find your audience, like who you're marketing to, men, women, country, interests, that sort of thing, and make multiple ads and try one with your book cover. Every now and then I take the $100 challenge and I bet an author $100 that my picture will outperform their picture, and I've never yet lost $100 though. What they're trying to say. I think I had it with Barry had this where he was showing his space team covers, and I said, Barry, just swap it up, just try it, and I didn't lose. I think I only bet you $20.
7 cents per click.
Yeah, it went down to 7 cents per click, so you can do some great stuff that way. Yes.
Just on the comments, do you comment on the comments?
So I run my ads not as me. That's a sort of important thing to note. If I go back to that we had up here. This one I run, I actually make other pages. One's called Fly Across the Star Space Opera Lovers. Because they convert better. You actually will sell more books if you're not the author. And it seems a little bit disingenuous, but it's like what publishing companies do, So I figured, why not? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to be like a third party who is theoretically a trusted source for information, and sell the books. I actually use this to market a lot of other people's books too, stuff like that. So which helps to I sort of build a brand. So when I do that, yes, I will comment on I get involved in the comments and the conversations that go on in the ads, which is great because it gets more people commenting and it keeps the whole thing going. I have time for one more. Yes.
Do you use video ads at all?
Can I use which?
Video.
I have done video. The problem with video is that it's a huge investment, and if it doesn't work, you're out a lot of money. So there are people who have the money to play around with video, and I've seen some of them do very well. I've seen some of them think they're doing very well, and then discover they weren't. Because on video, Facebook's default number gives you is the cost for the first 3 seconds. And you're like, wow, I'm getting like 5 cents per click. And you're like, oh wait, because I think it just calls it like results. It's in the result column. It's like 5 cents. You're like 5 cents per result, but the default result is a 3-second view. And what you'll find for a lot of video ads, I've actually interrogated people and gone through this. Only once did it not turn out that they're paying like 60 or 70 cents per click, and off of like hundreds of dollars invested. So that's why I really say to people, you're gonna run a lot of ads, just run straight images, because you can go wide. You can put a lot of ads out there and try a lot of different things for very low cost. I think the hook is about to come and pull me off the stage. So if you guys want to talk with me, just feel free to come and hit me up. I have a book called Help My Facebook Ads Suck, which I think hopefully will resonate. And hit me up, find me on Facebook, whatever. I'm happy to talk. Thanks. If you want to kill that. Hey,